This video begins with the introduction of aircraft weight and balance control, the different related departments, as well as explaining the process and emphasizing its importance. Lastly, will be our own analysis of the sector. So, what is aircraft weight and balance? It is a section of a flight operation that talks about the weighing of aircraft, the maintaining of weight and balance records, and proper loading of the aircraft. All these aspects are important safety considerations for flight operations as they affect the aircraft performance. Let's first look at the people who played a big responsibility in proper weight and balance control of the aircraft. Firstly, the designer and manufacturer of the aircraft. The designers and manufacturers set the maximum weight based on the amount of lift the wings or rotors can provide under the operational conditions for the aircraft. They also determine the ideal center of gravity and calculate the maximum allowable deviation from this specific location. Furthermore, they provide the aircraft operator with the empty weight of the aircraft and the location of its empty weight center of gravity. Secondly, the FAA certified engineers maintain the aircraft by keeping the current weight and balance records and record any changes that have been made due to repairs or alteration. Thirdly, the FCC calculates maximum takeoff weight and maximum payload of the aircraft. Fourth, the pilot in command has the responsibility prior to every flight to know the maximum allowable weight of the aircraft and its CG limits. This allows the pilot to determine during the pre-flight inspection that the aircraft is loaded so that the CG is within the allowable limits.
In the flight deck, crews can also play their part. When you receive the load information, take time to read the figures. Don't just take it for granted that they are correct. Use all of the information available to you to ensure that a gross error has not been made.
Lastly, responsibility of the ground handler is to make sure that baggage and cargo are loaded properly. Now let's go through the processes and procedures of aircraft weight and balance. Firstly, weighing of the aircraft. Every aircraft type certificated by the FAA before leaving the factory for delivery to its new owner receives a weight and balance report as part of its required aircraft records. The weight and balance report identifies the empty weight of the aircraft and the location at which the aircraft balances, which is center of gravity. Secondly, weight calculation done by the FCC. Here are some of the common terms used to estimate the weight of the aircraft. Empty weight equal empty weight of aircraft. Maximum zero fuel weight equal maximum without fuel including payload. Dry operating weight equal weight of aircraft exclude payload and fuel. Operational gross weight equal maximum takeoff weight. Takeoff weight equal weight of the aircraft including payload and fuel.
Here is an example of load sheet. Lastly, let's see how loading should be done.
Dangerous goods must be packed, loaded and secured in the proper manner. Otherwise, they may become a danger to the aircraft and everyone on board. Before loading, always inspect packages for any evidence of leakage or damage. Whether dangerous goods are to be containerized or bulk loaded, they must be secured to prevent any movement and also be protected from being damaged by the movement of other load on board. That could either be within a volumetrically full ULD or compartment or secured individually. Oh, and remember, the arrows always point up. The NOTOC contains several items of vital information. That's because if there is an incident, everyone involved from the flight crew to the emergency services are aware of the substances that they're dealing with and where they've been loaded on the aircraft. This document must also show confirmation from the person responsible for loading the aircraft that there was no evidence of damage or leakage from the consignment. Special loads, like these for example, have their own specific loading requirements. So always make sure that you've been provided with the proper equipment before attempting to load and secure them. But before you leave the hold, make sure that all loads have been secured, strapped and locked down.
Now let's understand what is COG and why is it important.
Every type and series of aircraft has its own specified safe flight envelope, as set by the manufacturer. And every flight envelope has its own specified maximum and minimum limits for both weight and balance. To ensure that control and stability is maintained during all phases of flight, aircraft must be operated within the flight envelope. To achieve that safe condition, the effect of the weight and balance must be calculated, the result of which is called the centre of gravity, the C of G. To influence the position of the C of G, load is positioned forward and aft of a central balance point. Everything put forward of that point will move the C of G forward, and everything put aft will move it rearward. The final position of the C of G will determine the horizontal stabilizer trim setting. So, starting with an empty aircraft, watch and see how load affects the C of G as it is added. First, the fuel, followed by a full load of passengers. Then we add a typical standard baggage load. That gives us a fairly normal C of G, nicely within the safe flight envelope, good to go. However, if an aircraft were partially or incorrectly loaded with an excess of load in the front, this could happen. And if there were excess in the rear, this could be the result. Finally, undeclared or too much load may do this. Whilst aircraft are able to handle various weight and balance conditions, they must be within all limits before departure. So, to ensure safety is not compromised, it's vital that everybody involved is aware of these restrictions and understands that seemingly minor changes to the load may put the aircraft outside of its envelope.
COG is critical to the safety of flight because it affects the airplane's stability. Let's see what happens if the certified COG limits defined in the aircraft safety envelope are exceeded.
Everything is going as expected until we try to rotate the aircraft. Very quickly, it becomes apparent that it will not leave the ground. So we attempt to stop the aircraft and overrun the runway at high speed. Out of curiosity, we then put the aircraft excessively out of aft trim. Note the warning lights and alarms as we become airborne,
What's going on here?
but
The
not for
airplane
long.
just took itself off. Okay, hang on, full thrust, that's no use. Okay, you can. Stick, give me a hand on the nose, get the nose down, 70 degrees nose up. Okay, airspeed, speed, try to correct. Through the vertical now. Push, push, okay. Yeah, try and put some rudder on it. Okay, right. Okay, bang.
Last but not the least, our analysis and conclusion. If the aircraft is loaded incorrectly or there are mistakes in the calculation, the consequences may be fatal. This is what happened when the COG changed suddenly. The Dubai-bound Boeing 747-400 plane crashed just after takeoff from Bagram Air Base on the 29th of April 2013, killing 6 crew members. Due to the improper loading of cargo, the cargo shifted during takeoff, causing the sudden change of central of gravity, which then rendered the aircraft uncontrollable. In the end, the aircraft crashed. In conclusion, safety cannot be compromised. There are 3 things flight crews must do to make safety the #1 priority. Firstly, it is to follow load plan. Secondly, if things do not go per plan, report the changes. Thirdly, ground handlers must secure all loads on aircraft. Finally, the aircraft is ready for takeoff. Bon voyage!